Hey everybody, this is Gabe Hernandez with Comical Opinions. Before we get started on today's video, I want to ask you, please, if you could, help support this channel by subscribing to my newsletter. Go to gabehernandez.substack.com. There's a link down in the description and sign up for the weekly newsletter. What I do is through the course of the week, I look at all the videos that I put out, and whichever has the most interaction, whichever gets everybody's interest the most, I'll spin that off into a much more significant article that deep dives into a particular topic that's on everybody's mind. So if you could, please sign up for the newsletter. As a matter of fact, I just released the latest article, and it's a doozy, talking about whether or not politics have always been in comics. The short answer is yes. The long answer is not exactly what you're thinking it is. So if you want to know more, hopefully that's an interesting topic, go on over to the newsletter. Link is down in the description. Please sign up. It's completely free, and you can deep dive into all the articles, and every week I'll be putting out something new and hopefully very interesting. So topic for today is the Batman 2021 trailer that just dropped through DC Fandome this past weekend. Just as a general note, DC Fandome was worlds better than San Diego Comic-Con at home. They're both virtual events, but I'll be honest with you, Fandom had stuff that everybody wants. They want to see cool new movie stuff. They want to see trailers. They want to see new art reveals. They want to see stuff that's going on. Whereas, just from what I saw, the San Diego Comic-Con at home was a lot of panels and topics of discussions that were sort of the business of entertainment, not really interesting, not really relevant to the public at large. Maybe some of it was, but it was nowhere close. DC really stepped it up, really showed them how it's done. Room for improvement, yes. As a matter of fact, probably the biggest area of complaint from my point of view is they had so little information about comics. Milestone is coming back. That's great. Talking about a John Ridley Batman miniseries coming out in January. That's fine. A couple other bits and ends in here and there, but it was all focused mostly on the TV and entertainment, very little on comics. Considering where DC Comics is right now, after the layoff a few weeks ago, that's not a surprise. And they have extended DC Fandome into 2 weekends, so there's another week coming up in September, another Saturday coming up in September. Let's see if they had a little bit more on that. But enough about that. Let's get back to the topic at hand. So the Batman trailer came out. I liked it a lot. Watched it several viewings. Just kind of went into really leans into the whole notion of Batman being the detective, Batman being just a force for Gotham that looks at criminals on a very grounded level. I hear a lot of descriptions that say it's sort of Batman mixed with Seven, sort of David Fincher type tone and style. And I can absolutely see that, especially when you look at what you have on the screen. Now, I'm not going to play the whole video in case there's a copyright problem, but yeah, you have the body of a victim. His face is covered in duct tape, no more lies, and that seemed to be a consistent theme. And it looks like the main villain is the Riddler. The individual that they had on the screen that I believe is supposed to be the Riddler looks a little odd or unique or interesting. Let me see if I can get him up there. I can find the right spot. Anyway, it didn't really it didn't look like anything that you didn't see from the original Batman series or any of the cartoon iterations or anything, or anything in the comics. But it's a short trailer. They've had to suspend filming because of the COVID lockdown, so you got to work with what you got. But overall, it looks great. Some of the things that I also noticed is the atmosphere was really good. It was sort of somber. It was grim and gritty, all the things that you would expect from sort of a crime noir detective murder type situation in Gotham City. That looked great. The whole aspects of being the Riddler, it wasn't cheesy or hokey. You had essentially murders that were going on and clues being left that were in cards in green, which was a nice touch. that were riddles by nature. And so if you were sort of to kind of ground and more and take a real world approach to who the Riddler was, yeah, he would be something like a sort of Fincher-esque type serial killer. He wants to be caught. He likes stringing the police along, stringing the Batman along with clues, daring them to capture him, testing his own superior intellect, and that's very much what you could expect or imagine from the Riddler. The costume looks good. I mean, it's very sort of Batman Arkham Asylum-esque. As you can see here, I'm bringing up, he's got some boots on that are sort of combat boot looking in nature. Then when you bring up the costume, you get a kind of standing look at it, and I'm trying to find the right spot there. Yeah, like that. It looks very body armor-ish, but this kind of leads me into the point about what we're missing. And there are what we're missing really is something that I think is not obvious when you look at it. If you look through the trailer, and I'm going to back it up just a little bit here, and I'm just going to play the intro piece a little bit when that's James Gordon, maybe lieutenant at that point, but maybe commissioner. I'm just going to play a few seconds of it, and you see if you can catch it in the trailer. And you won't be able to hear any noise. I still got to get the StreamYard set up. I want you to notice that. I'm going to play that again, and I want you to notice it. All the police officers that are in the room are looking past the commissioner, or looking past Gordon. I don't know if he's commissioner or lieutenant at this point, and they're looking to somebody that's walking behind him. Presumably that's the Batman. And then when you get a little bit further on, right here, there's the Batman, plain view, forensic people walking behind him. And then a little bit further on, let's see if we can find the spot. Bear with me a second. I'm going to find it. Yeah, right here. That's good. Where he's confronting the thugs and gives one of them a proper smackdown, which was impressive because of the speed of it. It wasn't sort of a long telegraphed movie fight, but it was very brutal. It was very effective. It was very to the point. That's an excellent fighting style for somebody who was a street level hero. But if you didn't notice in those points, there is something missing there. And I'm going to reference some of what I think are some of the quintessential depictions of the Batman that have existed through the past few decades. If we talk about the Legends of the Dark Knight, which is one of the episodes of the new Batman adventures, what you have here is you have a bunch of kids that are basically retelling their understanding of who and what the Batman is through their own perspectives, through rumors and whispers and just stories that have been passed along through second and third hand stories. And in each one of those cases, you get a little bit of a different version, but in some cases, those versions are almost mythological, almost legendary. When you move over to, say, Have I Got a Story for You, which was one of the vignettes in the Batman Gotham Knight animated film, which was an anthology story, you have a series of stories that's told again by children as they're seeing what the Batman was through their own eyes, or their interpretation of what the Batman is through their own eyes. In one case, he's half bat, half man. In another case, he's some sort of some kind of bee devil who's able to see. Where they have to see what the Batman is after through what's the right way to say this? They see him through different eyes and through different perspectives as sort of a legendary or mythological figure. And then when we go over to, in my case, in my experience, one of the better Batman the Animated Series episodes is POV, where after basically a botched police stakeout, each one of the detectives, including Bullock and Montoya, are telling their stories of what they saw the Batman doing when that botched stakeout went down, and how they were captured, and sort of the perspectives of what they thought they saw, what they thought the Batman could do, and what they thought the Batman really was from a physical point of view. And then one more line that I'm going to reference, not from the animated series, but also from um, Batman Begins, who in my case, the Nolan trilogy is again another great example of the Batman story. One of the quotes from Ra's al Ghul is, "You took my advice about theatricality a bit literally." And what that's a reference to is in the early days of his training, when he's with the assassins in Tibet. They're teaching him about the ways of the ninja, how they can hide in plain sight, how they can make themselves look invisible, so that they can assassinate who they need to assassinate, and do it in ways that nobody would suspect. That's me kind of rambling in from different examples and different iterations and incarnations of Batman throughout time. But what do they all have in common that you don't see in the trailer? And what they all have in common is that you don't see in the trailer is the Batman uses darkness and shadow and theatricality and sort of the irrationality of fear as part of his arsenal. In other words, he doesn't necessarily, whenever he can help it, allow himself to kind of be seen in plain sight, straight on and just for who he is. And I think for me, that's kind of what makes the Batman so much more than just a guy in a suit. If you think about it in real world terms, it basically boils down. If you look at the Batman as he's seen here in the trailer, and as they're looking at him straight on, let me bring up that picture, bring up that stance one more time. And everybody's just standing around looking at him. He just looks like a guy in a suit. And it kind of goes back to that observation that I think has been made a number of times. If you boil the Batman down, he's just a billionaire in a weird bat suit that goes around beating people up. It doesn't make any sense from a practicality standpoint. Now you can say, well, they're working with him because he's the world's greatest detective. Sure, but at the same time, if they're allowed to see him for what he really is, he's just basically a guy in a suit beating people up. It's sort of ridiculous. Now, in this trailer, again, which is a great trailer, they wrap it in atmosphere, they wrap it in mood, they wrap it in sort of, they suspend their own disbelief, and the way it's done so well, they bring you along with them. But if you kind of look at it long enough, it's like, this looks kind of silly that they're just sort of treating him like he's somebody that they should defer to. He's just a guy in body armor wearing a bat helmet, and it's just weird. And you could say, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's the Batman. Well, yeah, it is the Batman, but the part of what makes Batman a symbol, a sort of an urban legend of sorts, the way he uses darkness and fear and misdirection and theatricality is to kind of keep the criminals off balance for who and what he really is. He wants the criminals to be afraid of him. He wants the criminals to be unsure of whether or not he's there, whether or not he can see them, how he finds them, how he beats them. That sort of theatricality, that focus on keeping himself out of view, direct eyesight, sort of stake into the shadows of becoming sort of an otherworldly creature, if nothing else than simply by reputation, is part of his superpower. And I say that in air quotes. But here he's not doing that at all. Again, it's still brilliantly shot, and I like it quite a bit. But it's sort of missing that element of mystery, of mystique, of the Batman being a little bit more. Here we have, even here at the 125 mark, he's in a room full of cops, and they're getting into a bit of a tussle. Again, from a grounded perspective, it doesn't make sense. Why are they all just, if anybody is curious or thinks that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing because he's a masked vigilante, why don't they just grab him and yank the mask off and find out who he is and just be done with it? Because he's just, even though it's a darkly lit room, he's just sort of standing in plain sight. He's not trying to hide himself. He's not using the shadows to shield him, but also to hide him, and also as a form of weaponry in and of itself. It's that mystery, it's that mystique, it's the, is he a man or is he something more than that? That element of mystery is gone. It's missing. Now that seems like a nitpick, and yeah, you could say it's a nitpick, but I think that's one of those elements of the Batman that makes him more than just a guy in a suit beating people up. It gives him that extra layer of specialness that you can believe would put him on par with other members of the Justice League, even though again he's just a mortal man. So maybe I'm off base, maybe I'm nitpicking. Why don't you tell me what you think? Am I reading too much into it? Does this look great no matter what, and I'm just full of soup, or what? Why don't you tell me what you think? Comment down below, like, share, subscribe to the Comical Opinions channel, and again, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the newsletter. The idea is eventually I'm going to build this up to do something where maybe I do some cool stuff with the people who are my subscribers. So every little bit helps, and that'll eventually help me keep this channel going, going forward. And if you think I'm way off base on this, Gabe, the trailer is great, you're just wrong-headed about the whole thing. Comment down below. Tell me I'm wrong. Give me a thumbs down. Anything that would give me the engagement to kind of help boost this channel and boost this trailer, so I can spread the message far and wide. And tell me where I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong. But again, it's just my opinion. So thank you for your time. Thank you for stopping by. This is Gabe Hernandez for Comical Opinions.